We're going to talk about succession planning for auto dealers. And to help lead that conversation, I have Elton Wetland of the NADA 20 Group, Dealership Management Consultant, and Christine Cote-Wissmann, who is the Family Wealth Director, Senior Vice President of Morgan Stanley. Live Stage Living Room, please do me a favor. Give them a warm round of applause like they are your personal family, friend, and loved one. Bring them to the stage. Come on up.
Well, thank you. Can everybody hear us okay? I guess we'll start there.
Hello,
okay.
Nada. How is everybody this morning? All right.
All right. Well, to make it easier, and we've talked about it a little bit, I'm a 20 group consultant, and I happen to have 2 of the 3 large super groups, which are multi-franchise groups within NADA and dealer franchise groups. And one of the hot topics that comes up very, very often is succession planning. So, Christine, I'll just cut to the chase with the first question is, why do dealers need a succession plan?
So, first of all, most dealers think that they don't need a succession plan because they are pretty sure they're going to live forever. So I'm just letting you know. So, but Elton, you asked me this question the other day, or you brought up something the other day about what one of your dealers said.
What percentage of dealers end up leaving their dealership? I mean, how many dealerships have a succession?
100%. And the reason it's 100% is because despite all the supplements that you can take, you still have a 100% chance of dying. I mean, death and taxes, that's it. So you have a 100% chance that somehow your dealer is going to go into someone else's hands, whether it's your family or someone else. The question is, actually, Elton, are you going to decide how that works, or is someone else going to decide it for you?
What do you see in a succession plan? What do you see as the main barriers that a dealer, I mean, because I was once told that whether you're 25 or 85, you need a succession plan. You can get hit by a truck tonight. What do you see as the main barriers that a dealer has to not do a succession plan? What's the holdup?
Fear. And the reason they're afraid is because what if they upset a family member? What if they upset key employees? How do I even make this decision? And so they're like, oh, I don't want to start because if I start, then I'm going to open up Pandora's box.
Okay. Well, these are some actual questions that came from 20 groups.
Okay.
These questions are hot topics. You know, we'll start a meeting with hot topics and go around the room. And Christine, you've spoken at one of my 20 groups.
Right, I've spoken at a few.
I know your level of expertise on this is high. So why is it so critical to begin succession planning now instead of waiting?
So I'm going to give you a kind of a sad story as a result of it. Right now, one of my dealerships is in liquidation. I had been working with them on some other matters, trying to get them to do succession planning. They were like, oh, I don't really want to, I don't want to think about it. If I think about it, then it's going to hurt so. I just don't want to do this. And it was 2 partners. One of the partners dropped dead in his driveway December 29th, and now they're liquidating the dealership. So,
wow.
Yeah.
They had to because they didn't plan.
Right. And, you know, I'm just going to add other stories. When I first started working with another very substantial dealership, why were they in conflict? Because the father had not made an appropriate succession plan, and he was very busy suing his own mother.
Wow. You know, one of the things that we've talked about, and you look at groups, and I've got some very established old family groups, some that have done a wonderful job with the succession plan, but there's still percentages out there that when it goes to the second generation and third generation and fourth generation, that statistically it goes down a little bit. What do you see successfully that dealers have done? What are they up against? Is it a math situation? Is it the value of the dealership?
So okay, I have this philosophy that in the world there are 2 kinds of problems. There are math problems and people problems.
Okay.
And you can either start with the people, and if you think just about the people and your family members, That's not solving the math problem. When you run a dealership, you are running the math every single day. How many cars did I sell? How many cars did I service? Did I sell enough warranties? You know, what am I doing with the assets of the business? And that's where you need to start. And there is this magic word that nobody likes to hear, and it's called governance. And that is, how are you going to govern your business? And how are you going to create that legacy? And if you start with the business first and then back it into the people, and you set the table of expectations. Hey, child, grandchild, great-grandchild, this is what we do for a living. If you don't want to do this, that's your decision, but the business takes the priority, and we're going to make the right business decisions, and you may or may not want to be a part of that.
Well, when you sit down with a dealer, and we're talking car dealers here, okay?
Right.
So when you sit down with a car dealer who needs a succession plan, we've determined that everybody needs one, and what do they want? What do they want?
You know, at the end of the day, they really only want one thing. They want to be able to sit down with their family at Thanksgiving, and when they say, please pass the mashed potatoes, they get passed and not thrown.
Okay.
They want to feel safe and secure with their family, and they want their family to feel the same. And we have a saying at Morgan Stanley, and I've got a couple of my colleagues here, and they know it very well, which is that all children want to feel equally loved. And it's not that you have to give them equal money or equal ownership or anything like that, but everyone wants to feel engaged, and they want to know what their roles and what their responsibilities are. And if you can create an environment that creates a legacy for them, it allows them a place to step up.
When a dealer does a succession plan, is it a destination, or is it a journey process? Is it a potentially evolving type process?
Well, I don't want to get all political with you, but it's kind of like voting. You want to do it early and often. And the thing is that people change. You know, Jamie Lee Curtis had this great saying about why her marriage had been so long, and it was because she said, I got on the bus, and sometimes I just waited for the scenery to change. And so when you're doing transition planning, succession planning, legacy planning, however you want to term it, it's really more thinking about over time, your scenery is going to change, and therefore you want to evolve with it. So it feels like succession or legacy planning can be difficult, but in fact, you really can just start with the simplest, easiest platform and then allow it to evolve, but make sure that you get back to it on a regular basis. And I just want to add this, and this is what your top dealers do, and this is why they're the top dealers. They surround themselves with very high quality professionals, legal and accounting. I know that there's some top tier accounting and legal professionals here today, and I would really encourage you to find the right kind of people to surround yourself with, because they'll help guide you going forward. And these are the people who make a difference in your life.
In the process, it doesn't sound like the valuation of the business is that big a part.
No, that's not true.
It is?
No, it is not true. So the thing is, you know, money problems, people problems. You can't really resolve a lot of people problems until you know what you have. And I was talking with a dealer group, you know, they have 6 rooftops, but they have a significant amount of wealth. And when was the last time you had a valuation? Oh, 2008. When was the last time you wrote a will? I don't know. So the fact is, you got to know what you own. And people, dealer valuations change all the time. And it's not just the valuation of the dealership. It's the land that it sits on. It's all the other businesses that you own, because you've got your reinsurance and your cash flow and all of these things. And it's a puzzle. And by putting that together, now you can look at it in such a way that you create a whole picture. And that allows you, with kind of solving some of the money problems, now to think about your family and how that all plugs and plays.
Is it, when you do a succession plan, is it hard? I mean, is it one size fits all, or is it?
Okay, so I'm going to say there's 2 answers to that question. So one of the beautiful things about the auto dealer industry is there's a thing called capital stack that Wall Street loves. We call it the cap stack, and that's how your capital is put together. It's the real estate you own, it's the retail shops that you own, it's the car washes, it's the service and all these other things, and how that's all put together. And repeat that question one more time.
Well, I just want to know, when you start this process, can the process actually create not being able to have Thanksgiving dinner together?
So the thing is because most dealers have almost exactly the same physical and financial structure, it's kind of, in some respects, easy to pull apart the pieces and plug and play.
Okay.
There's a certain advantage to doing that. The problem comes when you are thinking about, well, this isn't necessarily the dealer's first marriage. I'm just saying some people get married more than once. And there's children from a previous marriage and children from the new marriage. And so everyone starts thinking about trying to solve the problem of the family. And again, we're going to come back to, you want to start thinking about your legacy and the business first. And if you start there, the rest of it starts to fall into place.
You know, I'm so glad you said that. I've got a wonderful dealer in Super, we call it Super Group, multi-franchise Group 1, 30-some rooftops.
Okay, good size.
And we were talking about the roles. What is the role of somebody that owns 30-some dealership? And And he said, I go to work every day with one role, and that's culture. And that's just to make sure that I have the culture that I want. When you came to the meeting, you talked about legacy and culture.
Right.
That, yeah, you can leave them so much money, the balance sheets, the valuation, the dealership's valuation, the stock distributions, the stock distribution. You make your mind up on all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the biggest thing that I've seen a lot of my dealers want is their legacy and culture to be carried on.
That's exactly right, Elton. And so, you know, when you think about what is the experience every day when you walk into the store? What do you want to feel? What do you want that to look like? And so you, as the owner or the owner's family, you get to decide that. You actually have an incredible amount of control. And a lot of people don't realize that they want to step back and say, I want my business to feel like this. And many dealers are really deeply engaged in their community. And so the legacy isn't necessarily just about how many cars they sell and what the dealer experience is like. It's the Boys and Girls Club. It's their involvement in their church. It's their involvement in other aspects of their community. And so they want to, and their universities. I mean, you guys are really important in your communities. And how do you want that to be experienced over the generations?
Wow. Just like a 20 group, we're in a U shape, and a lot of these dealers out here are into 20 groups.
Okay.
And you'll have one dealer on the left side of the group that's highly, highly successful in the used car department. And you'll have another dealer on the other side of the group, and they're highly successful in the used car department. And they're going about it two different ways.
Yeah.
They're absolutely going about it two different ways.
Uh-huh.
And so when you do a succession plan, there's so many ways to go about it.
Well, yes, there is. But I want to say, one of the things is that sometimes they're thinking really hard about the succession plan and how are all the people going to work? And I'm like, so let me just ask you a simple question. How are the ownership of your business titled? Yeah. Who owns it? Is it you and your spouse? Is it you? Do you live in a community property state? And what happens is, I can't tell you how many dealers that are worth $100 million, $1 billion, and they own it with their wife. And if they died tomorrow, every person in the United States would know everything about their wealth. Why? Because it's in joint tenants. And I know that sounds really simple, but if you just put it into a simple trust, all of a sudden you've taken the first simple, most important step towards moving your family to making it within the family. And I know it sounds like it's a really simple thing, but there are thousands of dealerships in the United States that didn't even know they should do that, and it's a simple first step.
Is that that was my next question.
First
so
step.
I'm sitting here, I've been kicking the can down the road. Matter of fact, I've kicked the can down the road so far that I don't even want to pick it up. Okay? I'm going to die and let them work it out.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I've changed my mind. Okay? That's going to be my legacy. They're going to talk about me.
Right.
I want them to talk about me good when I'm gone. Okay? So now I buy into this thing. So the first thing to do, the first step is to sit down. Do you kind of like present a question about what do they want their culture to be? What do they want it to be at the end? I mean,
Well,
what's the first step?
okay, I think the culture thing, we don't want to get, I mean, when we're talking about planning, one of the things that you want to think about is, you know, again, math and people, it's all the same thing. So you want to know what you have and how it's titled.
Okay.
And once you get those two things settled, then you can go to the culture, because you can't drive the culture unless you've settled some of these basic aspects. And I know that sounds odd.
No, it sounds good.
But the culture, as important as it is, you can't solve it unless you create an architecture underneath which it can fit. It's like, you know, you're not going to build a house by throwing up sticks and a roof. You got to do the foundation work.
Well, there's no substitute for your dealership being run properly and all that kind of stuff, and that's why they're here, and they've, you know, invested this time, and some of them are in 20 groups and that kind of thing. But you know, with that being the case, when it comes down to, we held a seminar, exchange. I know some of you have been to exchanges. We're not supposed to talk. We're just supposed to be there to facilitate dealers talking to each other. So we had an exchange in regard to succession planning.
Okay.
Okay, 2 years ago. Everyone that came in there, I think, was under the age of 30. I
heard about this.
I think they were like the third level. The grandfathers were still running the business, had no desire to leave.
Yep.
You know, weren't going to ever die, by the way. They had gotten with Elon Musk and had figured out a way never to die. And they did not want to deal with that right now. But the 25-year-olds were already thinking, how am I going to end up taking over this dealership? I had two cousins in there, and one cousin comes up to me at the end of it. He said, my cousin Bill, he doesn't work as hard as I do. I work a lot harder, and it's just not going to be fair. He's planning to give the same percentage to him as he is to me. Bill, John leaves the room. Bill comes up to me and says, you know, my cousin John, he's not that smart. He's he's not going to be able to run this business when I'm gone. So they were already dealing with some of these potential issues that got to come up.
So I'm going to go back to what I said before about governance. And the word of governance sounds like, ugh, you know, I don't want to think about it. It's got 3 syllables in it, and there's so many things wrong with it. But let's just pretend that you have a business. The average dealership in the United States, one rooftop, does more than about $70 million a year in revenue. $70 million a year in any industry is like a big deal. And people think they're still running a corner lot that their grandfather had. But no, you guys, the industry has evolved into something really meaningful. So let's just pretend that you're a real business like IBM. When the president of IBM dies, what happens?
There's a smooth transition usually.
Right. And why is there a smooth transition?
They plan for it.
Thank you. And so these kids that you're just referring to, they're making decisions that they can't cash.
Yeah.
They're writing checks that they can't cash. And it's, I hate to say the word responsibility, but it is the responsibility of the parents to set the roles and responsibilities of what this person's supposed to do. So if you were hiring little Johnny off the street to become your GM, or you were going to hire your nephew to be your GM, are you going to require the same thing from your nephew that you do from little Johnny off the street? Oh, you know, but little Johnny, you know, I remember when he fell off his bike and was in the hospital. You remember that, but you don't know anything about, you know, all these other things with somebody you're hiring off the street. And that's how you kind of need to do it. You need to create roles for your company, and you have to measure how well they're doing. And it feels cold, it feels unfeeling, but in fact, if you are the family member and you know in your heart what your job is and why you're there and what you're supposed to accomplish, yeah, it does put real pressure on you. Yet at the same time, you also know where you fit in the universe. And you know, like little kids, they want rules around, like what time they go to bed, and they got to put a coat on when it's 0 outside and that type of thing. I don't know how many of you have had kids where you're taking them to school. I did this. It's cold. You need to wear a coat. I don't want to wear a coat. All right, here's your coat. You hold it, and if you want it, it's there. And you walk outside, and the kid's like, oh, my God, it's freezing out here. I need my coat. They put it on. That's the thing. You want to provide them with a coat and roles and responsibilities, whether they're 25, 35, or 55.
Well, it sounds like when we talk, and again, I am going to say this subject comes up a lot. It's, we go around the room,
All the time.
we do hot topics, we put them up on the board. So it's a hot topic, I need to start thinking about that. It'd be 2 years later, we're having a meeting 2 years later, you know what? I need to think, and it's that kicking the can down the road. I see a lot of financial planning because there's a lot of estate planning,
Right.
how much stock can I transfer one
Blah,
year
blah,
and all
blah,
the
yeah.
tax purposes and all that. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of valuations done for that purpose.
Right.
But I don't see the actual succession planning. I had 2 or 3 kids. What am I going to do? Nothing makes us happier as a father to see our kids get along, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, talk about that Thanksgiving dinner. But if we leave without a succession plan, because there's 100% of these dealerships out there are going to change hands. Every dealership represented out there is going to change hands one day, okay, whether it's to a kid or a buy-sell or whatever the case may be. So you go back to what you said earlier, is it's your choice.
Right.
It's your choice.
Well,
so succession plan means you're taking the bull by the horns, and it's your choice.
it's your choice, and you're making the decision every day to show up for work. You're making the decision to put your family, your wealth, your well-being, and the well-being of hundreds of other people who work for you on the line every day. And I think that thinking about that in the legacy of time really makes an enormous difference, and you will feel so much better. It won't be hanging over you like a tiger that's about to pounce on you.
We ask, and we're wrapping this up right now. So we ask, what did we want you guys to leave with? And whether you're sitting out there and you're 18 years old or you're 98 years old, is that there will be a succession. You will be succeeded. And to have a plan that goes down and maintains the culture you want, the legacy that you want to leave in life is an important thing. So hopefully we left you with that. Christine, thank you so much.
You're more than
Morgan
welcome.
Stanley, we appreciate it. Thank you guys.
All right, guys. Have a
Appreciate
great day. Enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.